Arlington was recently named one of the happiest places to live in America. They had been the most educated in the entire nation when measured by college and graduate degrees. But we were hit by a virus that was met with silence and spread unchecked. Denials for days, weeks, then months led to more deaths, more infections, more stress, and more loneliness. And today, the death toll has climbed so high that you could replace every live resident in Stanton, Virginia, the birthplace of President Woodrow Wilson, and 45th Governor of New Jersey, who had fought the first war to end all wars, had attempted to establish the League of Nations in San Francisco, and had to combat the Spanish flu pandemic of 1918 at the same time. The virus arrived in Virginia like Frank Miller, ready to reunite with his gang of rustlers, set to arrive at high noon at the station on the train, powered by a great steam locomotive. But a new marshal had come to Arlington, who was just awaiting for that old coronavirus to step off that train. Businesses started throwing up signs on their shop windows, closed for a pandemic. Town folks in historically associated times of fear, confusion, and despair began to fashion for themselves homemade protection, donning masks made of one-ply cotton, doing what they had been told on the news by the purported experts and politicians. But that old marshal, a pesky independent, had another plan. Wanted to be an individual, when even the churches and the schools were closing their doors to run away from the storm that was coming. And King, that old marshal decided to pick up his science books and his law books and go to court. He decided to sue the government. He decided to sue the church. He decided to sue Anthony Fauci, and he even decided to bring a fight against City Hall, suing the mayor of D.C. and the mayor of Alexandria, Virginia. Not even a word was ever printed in the press. Not even to lampoon a fool foolish enough to go into court without a licensed attorney. And under the radar, that old determined marshal took as many as a dozen cases all the way to the nation's highest court. Science says that for every action, apparently even applied in civil actions brought to court, there is an equal and opposite reaction. And the White House called on the assistance from the National Security Council in a matter regarding a search that was given a personal security classification of confidential, meaning that it represented a threat to national security. While Mark Zuckerberg, the founder of the world's largest social media platform that had permanently disabled his account expressly for security reasons, decided to retain a rising star partner who specialized in high-profile clients in bet-the-company litigation. And not even that got any mention in the press, like it was some big-top government secret. But the White House attorneys assured the court his complaint was nothing more than an unadorned, the defendant unlawfully harmed me accusation that is ripe for dismissal. Bizarre conspiracies. But they didn't issue any official press statements or hold any press conferences. And even that court, trying its hardest to dismiss that case in a protracted litigation, been going on in court for 2 years, said we are not the first court to see it this way. And that matter had been dismissed in federal court twice before it had gotten to that court. Once going all the way to the Supreme Court on a special application for prejudgment decision, but never, even once dismissed with prejudice to support a claim of res judicata for a matter already decided as a matter of law. And in October, just before the elections, if you take a look at the court docket, out there in open view for anyone to see, it was clear that something, even if unspecified and unarticulated, had changed. because suddenly the court became silent, even though things were continuing to go on, but they weren't recording them on the docket like the matter was brought unsealed, which could only be possible if something was potentially classified information, which could not be true unless the government owned this virus. Growing impatient about a matter granted priority of civil action under the Freedom of Information Act, with its clear presumption of openness and full government disclosure, because the American people we know have a right to know. Trial court had even set a hard deadline for the White House to file a motion for summary judgment, declaring that there be no genuine issue of material fact to be settled in the trial on the merits the government was entitled to prevail as a matter of law. And at the end of August, the Deputy General Counsel for the White House and the President had even filed a 12-page sworn declaration in support of the motion to remove that frivolous and vexatious matter from the docket. But at least those attorneys say that hard cases make for bad law. And if the new year has already passed and no gavel has been dropped, then that old fool Marshall on his merry way right off into the sunset. This may be the exception to the rule, but I ain't no attorney, so I can't say for sure. You look like an intelligent person, and you know that dog don't hunt. But you know that dog don't hunt. This message was approved by Major Mike Webb. Honest.